Let's take a look at some charts on Binance Coin, BNB, the latest article from Brave New Coin. So Binance Coin is probably the original and most successful actual utility token that's existed. Many other exchanges have since copied the model and have done well with it, such as KuCoin, I don't know how to say that exchange. Just all these other exchanges have their own exchange tokens, right? So Binance has done so much stuff, so many things to influence crypto. It's kind of wild. I mean, they have all of this stuff now. They have staking, futures, spot, lending, margin. They have fiat and all fiat onboarding or fiat pairs for all these currencies and all over the world. Like, they've just done so well. And I haven't really written about BNB in a while, mainly because the articles just sound like a giant marketing thing. But it's hard not to recognize the sheer quantity and mass volume of things that they've done in crypto. You know, you may not agree with it, you may not even trade there or like everything they've done, but they've built or bought almost this entire space. I mean, they have their own DEX that really isn't a DEX. You can see here, they sort of, I'm not going to use the word coercion, but they've acquired many projects onto their own chain. They've just done really well, really smart business decisions. They've had some issues with the exchange and some API hacks and other stuff that I mentioned in the article. That's a while ago now, but they've been around 3 years, and what they've done in 3 years is just impressive. You just can't ignore it. And that's not even to mention the Binance US migration. You know, they geo-restricted US users, created another exchange, and that exchange is arguably somewhat successful. I mean, if you're a trader and you've traded there, you know that some of the altcoin pairs are super illiquid, and the books are questionable as far as being fugazi. You know, I trade on Binance US at times, and I see orders on the order book that sort of disappear when I put an order there, you know, that sort of stuff. So there are some issues. Like, it's not all rose-colored glasses and rainbows and unicorns with BNB, but it's just amazing what they've done. You know, it's an $8 billion profit machine in the past 3 years. So like I said, they have all this stuff. They have staking as well. I think one of the first exchanges to allow us to add staking to the platform. I mean, this raises all sorts of centralization issues, but from a general user standpoint who doesn't know anything about anything in regards to staking, they can just automatically collect interest on a bunch of altcoins that otherwise being held on other exchanges or just being held in wallets wouldn't collect interest. Now, there was an issue here with Steemit, and what happened with Steemit, I didn't include that in the article, I probably should have, but basically Steemit, Justin Sun, and CZ and Binance kind of were at odds with governance, and from what I understand, Binance chose to side with Justin Sun, and there were some issues with Steemit, so Steemit forked, and then there was all sorts of drama with governance because Binance had so much Steemit staking and the ability to make governance decisions sort of overrule everyone else. So that's obviously an issue for centralization. But if you're pro-staking, pro access to this sort of stuff, Binance has done really well. Binance Coin also has a unique feature that probably makes it a security, in that they burn a percentage of tokens every quarter. From what I understand, it's 20% of profits. So you can kind of do the math on what the total profit is for the quarter. And like I said, it's somewhere around 7 to 8 billion. I don't know. This is just based on what they burn. So who knows what the other profits are, but they've burned 10% of the supply over the past 3 years now. Q2 2020 burn wasn't revealed yet. It's probably smaller than Q1 2020. That was the biggest burn yet. Q1 2020 trading volumes were pretty insane across the board. I expect Q2, Q3 to actually be pretty good because, especially Q3, you know, it's kind of alt season. So Binance burns probably won't be as large as Q1, but they'll be pretty big. They might be the second largest if this Q3 volume keeps up. So the burn has a arguably positive effect on price because it takes coins out of circulation, right? So it decreases supply. People in the exchange ecosystem can use the token for all sorts of stuff, like discounts on trading fees, using it for collateral, using it for lottery tickets and the IEO stuff. So all sorts of actual utility that sort of was manifested by Binance. And I mentioned that in the article. You know, this isn't like general utility that anyone can use for anything. It's all specifically baked into the Binance ecosystem. So what they've done is really smart, very limiting, and many people have copied it, like I've said. But they've created the use case for the token, and it's a valid use case. So that's why it's been so successful. If we look at the value of the burns, again, Q1 2020 has been the highest on record. So it's just been growing since Q4 2018. This is kind of a measure of general market health too, because if Binance is doing well with the burns, that usually means they have more trading volume, and if they have more trading volume, then generally prices are up or things are doing well for crypto. Low volumes are just bad across the board, so it's not a surprise that all this stuff sort of feeds back into itself. If we look at BNB, how it's been treated as far as becoming a full-fledged quote-unquote crypto, is it one of the boys? And what I did here was look at the correlations between BTC, ETH, LTC, and XRP. And since the mainnet was released in mid-late 2019, correlations have just continued to increase. So for me, what I can tell is, it's number 10 on the market cap list, if you pay attention to that sort of thing. So this is how popular and how important the coin has become in crypto. Like, not only has it just risen from zero to where it is today, and it's used and burns happen, but it's also trading a lot like most of the other coins, which isn't saying much, but it's saying that the market views this as an actual coin that correlates with, all the other coins correlate. So Binance is going to correlate if it's also as popular or as traded as the other coins. And it certainly is. Binance has also created their own stablecoin, which Tether was the original, and that's fine. There are usually no original ideas in crypto, very few ideas. So popular ideas are copied and adjusted. What this is showing is the Binance USD purchasing volume has surpassed 1 billion. So despite being relatively small in the circulating supply, you can see they're kind of fourth. Tether's just in its own universe as far as size. USDC is certainly getting larger. They just passed 1 billion. Paxos, BUSD, TUSD, HUSD. This is Huobi's coin, and this is Gemini's coin. Gemini, arguably is eventually just going to disappear. The exchange, the token. It's kind of amazing that they've lasted this long just because of how small they are and the little volumes they have. This is make or die. So, BUSD is, aside from Tether, if you just pay attention to, USDC, Paxos, BUSD, TUSD, etc., it's becoming more popular. It's definitely niche, but it's becoming more popular. USDC is more or less become the universal de facto non-Tether stablecoin. So if Tether were to explode tomorrow, USDC would probably take over as the leader in the market. Like I mentioned in the beginning, BNB has they've brought into the fold many other projects. All the list is here. You can look at the graphic. But there's just so much stuff here. Very, very little of this stuff, very small percentage is substantial. That's my own opinion. But you can use BNB and interact with BNB in an increasing number of ways outside of the exchange ecosystem, which is bringing more utility to BNB and just makes it more useful in general. If we look at the token transactions per day in the line here and average transaction values in the fill, no surprise that as transactions increase, average transaction values have continued to decrease. And this is on the Binance chain itself, I believe. Yeah, so they migrated from ERC20 to their own chain, and it hasn't died off. The volume has just continued to increase. So they're doing something right. In a vacuum, that's bullish for anything. If we look at price in the line here versus active addresses in the fill, this is probably one of the most important price-related on-chain items because, you can pay attention to the burns, the exchange volume, all that's great. But at the end of the day, to me, the active addresses correlate extremely highly with price. You can see leading into 2019, active addresses continued to increase. Volume or price skyrocketed. They had their migration, and then somewhere in mid-2019, they announced that they're kicking off US users. Binance Coin active addresses declined, so did price. They re-enabled US users with Binance US in September 2019. Active addresses increased slightly, but in general, the trend remained down. And then since January 2020, things have gotten a lot better for active addresses. And I also mentioned this in the article that Q1 and Q2 for Binance Coin, BNB, is generally the go times. You know, you can look at January 2018, January 2019, January 2020 have all been bullish. In general, it's Q3, Q4 that have seen the declines, at least since 2018, 2019. There's not a lot of data here, but just what you're looking at. Obviously, the early quarters were different, Q3, Q4, 2017. But if that trend should continue, Q3, Q4 trend, I don't expect BNB to do well, just historically, based on 2 years prior. If we compare Binance trading volumes, this is across all spot markets, so it's slightly misleading, but just again shows you the sheer dominance of Binance. They're nearly 75% of all spot markets. This is just Binance.com. It doesn't include Binance US, but they've eclipsed everybody. Even Polo, Bittrex used to be like the sort of altcoin leaders in the space after all the other altcoin exchanges kind of exit scammed. But that's shifted now, obviously, to Binance over the past 3 years. And again, you just can't deny the dominance. The trading preferability for people is Binance. Binance.com, Binance US. That's just what it is. All right, let's look at some technicals for BNB. Volume here on the bottom, VPVR here on the side, yearly pivots, RSI, 50, 200 EMA. So again, not a lot of historical data here to look at, but I always look for trend. Are we above the 200? We are. Do we have a bullish or bearish 5200 cross? It's currently sort of flat. If we continue to rise or sideways rise, it'll cross bullish for really the third time, right? This is one cross, this is another cross. This will be the third bullish cross ever. It's above all of the consolidation volume at this point. It's starting to get above the pivot, which is at 20. Nice resistance there. It's broken out of the volume trend, so volume is trending down for the past few months, and volume has started to pick up again. This is BNB USD here. Another thing I'm showing is the potential that this is a diamond bottom. Not perfect. Usually, you want to see this bounce around a couple times on both sides of the midline. It didn't do that bouncing around on this second half here. But I think the case looks pretty good. There's clearly like a flat horizontal here as part of the diamond, and there's massive volatility in the middle. That's what you want to see. And then what I did is take the measured move, projected it upwards, and it basically brings it back to near all-time highs around 32, 35, something like that. No divs on RSI here. If we look at the cloud for BNB USD, it has shifted bullish for the third time ever. No surprise that as 5200 is crossing bullish, the cloud is starting to look bullish again. And you can see it had these sort of faux Kumo breakouts where the cloud wasn't on board yet. This is the third or fourth, fifth Kumo breakout in the past couple months where it actually has the future cloud on its side. So if there's any breakout that has momentum, it's going to be this one. Again, it's broken above even the local highs here. I don't know if we'll see a 400% move like we did in early 2019, but I suspect it'll be greater than a 40% move if it's a multi-month move that we saw in early 2020. And that doesn't jive with my Q3, Q4 hypothesis, but looking at trend stuff on the chart, that's what I see. And BNB BTC looks the most indeterminate. It just mean reverted. It's still inside the cloud. It's still sort of in this VPVR resistance. It did have a nice Adam and Eve here. If you draw horizontal at around 18,000 sats, you can see the V, you can see the U. It's probably hit its measured move target, but again, it's inside all of this consolidation resistance. And if you want like a textbook diamond pattern, this is what I would consider a really good example. You can see it's just completely super volatile at the top. Extreme range in the median of this diamond here, but that's a really great example. And it fell off the table as soon as it was finished consolidating. No divs on volume or RSI, but RSI is at 81, so it's really at a historical overbought period here. So I wouldn't be surprised if this just consolidates sideways in here and attempts to break above everything sometime in Q3, because then it has a chance at being above the cloud, has a chance at crossing this bullish 5200. I really don't think it'll drop down to 1500 sats again, but if this consolidation fails, that's where it's headed. It's headed back to the previous consolidation. So overall, BNB is still the most popular exchange, probably the best example of a utility token on an exchange. Sure, Binance has issues, and they haven't always been on the right side of history when it comes to certain opinions or governance issues, but their sheer dominance is impressive, especially 3 years out now into the cryptocurrency exchange milieu.